conquering the spirit, I'm busting through the ceiling.
Hey guys, welcome back to Enlightened Turtle. It's your host Kev here. So I've just been doing some more reading up on this Trojan stuff, like some of the Trojan research, and I've been reading this book, which it's the myths of Greece and Rome. Now, it comes at this from a very Celtic kind of angle, if that makes sense. Now, I want to get straight into this. It's only a small chapter, should take me about 5-10 minutes to read. And hopefully this video is going to be coming out after the first extensive Trojan video. And in that video, I made reference to Mount Ida in the northwest, to the northwest of Troy in Cambridgeshire. And I'll read this and then we'll circle back and come to that. So let's get straight into it. Aroura and Tithinos, the goddess of the dawn, like her sister, the moon, was at times inspired with the love of the mortals. Her greatest favourite was Tithinos, son of Laomedon, king of Troy. She stole him away and prevailed on Jupiter to grant him immortality, but forgetting to have youth, joined in the gift. After some time she began to discern, to her great mortification, that he was growing old. Aren't we all, unfortunately? When his hair was quite white, she left his society, but he still had the range of her palace, and lived on ambrosial food, and was clad in celestial raiment. I'm guessing that means garbs and clothes and things like that. At length he lost the power of using his limbs, and then she shut him up in his chamber, whence his feeble voice might at times be heard. Finally she turned him into a grasshopper. Okay. Memnon was the son of Aroura and Tithinos. He was the king of the Ethiopians and dwelt in the extreme east, on the shores of the ocean. He came with his warriors to assist the kindred of his father in the Trojan War. King Priam received him with great honours and listened with admiration to his narrative of the wonders of the ocean shore. The very day after his arrival, Memnon, impatient of repose, led his troops to the field. Antilochus, the brave son of Nestor, fell by his hand, and the Greeks were put to flight, when Achilles appeared and restored the battle. A long and doubtful contest ensued between him and the son of Aroura. At length, victory declared for Achilles, Memnon fell, and the Trojans fled in dismay. There's many conflicts of which the Trojans are beat back several times until the arrival of reinforcements and things like that. In the evening, Aroura came, accompanied by the Hours and the Pleiades, and wept and lamented over her son. Night in symphony with her grief spread the heavens with clouds. All nature mourned for the offspring of the dawn. The Ethiopians raised his tomb on the banks of the stream, in the grove of the nymphs, and Jupiter caused the sparks and cinders of his funeral pile to be turned into birds, while dividing into two flocks, fought over the pile till they fell into the flame. Every year, at the anniversary of his death, they return and celebrate his obsequies in like manner. Aroura remains inconsolable for the loss of her son. Her tears still flow and may be seen as early morning in the form of dewdrops on the grass. Unlike most of the marvels of ancient mythology, There still exists some memorial of this. On the banks of the River Nile, in Egypt, are two colossal statues of which is said to be the statue of Memnon. Ancient writers record that the first rays of the rising sun fall upon this statue, and a sound is heard to issue from which they compare to the snapping of harp strings. There is some doubt about the identification of the existing statue with one described by the ancients, and the mysterious sounds are still more doubtful. Yet there are no wanting some modern testimonies to their being still audible. It has been suggested that sounds produced by confined air making its escape from crevasses and caverns in the rocks may have been some ground for the story. Sir Gardiner Wilkins, a late traveller of the highest authority, questionable, discovered that it was hollow, and that in the lap of the statue is a stone, which on being struck emits a metallic sound that might still be made use of to deceive a visitor who was predisposed to believe its powers. The vocal statue of Memnon is a favourite subject of allusion with the poets. Darwin, in his Botanic Gardens, says, "To the sacred sun in Memnon's fane, spontaneous concords quiet the martin strain, touched by the orient beam responsive rings, the living lyra and vibrations, and vibrates all its strings. Accordant aisles the tender tones prolong, and the holy echoes swell the adorning song." So there we go, that's that passage. I just read that little chapter there of Aroura and Tithinos. So I just made a couple of quick footnotes on this because, like I say at the start of the video, excuse me, just have a quick sip of my tea. Excuse me. Now, I referenced the Trojan video, the larger video, which I mentioned in there that there was Mount Ida in South Cumbria. Now, I also referenced there an etymological potentiality and devolution of the word lunar to Lune, Lune, which can be found littered all around here, and I'll put some images on the screen now for you guys. So I was interested because obviously ancient Britain had a lot of goddess worship, and the moon and things like that. And there's this, forgive me, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head right now, but there's a plate which is been in Germany, in Berlin I believe, for many years, and it shows you the moon, some stars, and it's believed to be a very early astrological depiction. No one really knows what all the symbology and the meaning is, but it's very fascinating when you look at it through this lens. So after reading this, we see that there's links between Trojans and one of the sons of Priam, Tithinos. So that connection between the moon, the goddess, the Trojans, and potentially a Mount Ida is something I just thought was interesting. I'm not saying it's the case, but as soon as I was looking for Mount Ida and I came across that wording, Lune, I just immediately thought of goddess worship and the moon. On this part as well, I wrote down Ethiopia is landlocked today and only has the Gulf of the Ardennes to its east, or the Arabian Sea. The references here are Memnon was the son of Aroura and Tithinos. He was king of the Ethiopians and dwelt in the extreme east. So this might not be actually be, if it was the case, this one might not be in England, because Troy and Cambridgeshire, East Anglia, on this one, that is on the coast. So the extreme east would either be the other side of the English Channel or the Hellas Sea, as Iman and people like that state, or it could be literally along the Mediterranean somewhere, or even further north it could be anywhere, to can be completely honest. I mean, it doesn't say that it's in a tropical climate. It doesn't say it's anywhere near the bloody hell, what's it called? The centre of the earth, you know, where it's hot and it goes all the way around. The equator, there we go. It doesn't say it's got any kind of weather of the equator or anything like that. So the Ethiopians dwelt on the far east, on the shores of the ocean. And again, there's no ocean to the east of Ethiopia. Ethiopia of today is landlocked. Now, that's not to say that the Ethiopian of today has the same borders in Africa as Ethiopia of yesteryear. Alas, there's no ocean to the east of that Ethiopia either way. It's what we call the Horn of Africa. So that was another interesting point. And then we have the two colossal statues of Memnon. Now, I just want to point out that I've just done a recent video, and it took me a long time to do that video actually. There was a lot of information I put in there. I used it as an exercise before I went into this Trojan video, Trojan series of videos, to see how good I could source information and piece it together and try and make a coherent argument, if that makes sense. And the statues of Memnon, as it states here, ring like a bell, can be found on the River Nile. Well, actually, to be honest, they're actually found around Lake Moeris, which is the area of the Fayum Oasis or Crocodipolis, and that is the area I mentioned so many historians in that video: Diodorus Siculus, Strabo, Herodotus, so on and so forth. And they mention of two giant pyramids that were once situated in the centre of Lake Moeris, which makes me think that actually it's talking about that part of the world, but then it's actually quite far from Ethiopia. So I've got no real answer on that, but I would like people to go and check that video out, because like I say, I do make the references, and there's old imagery, some of it, I mean, it's inconclusive, as with all of this material, to be completely honest with you. I mean, whether it's the Trojan War, whether it's Atlantis, whether it's a whole raft of any other topics, all we've got is our brains and our wits. That's all we've got to try and discern through the information, just like people in the ancient times did. And yeah, I'm probably going to leave it there, but the correlation between the moon worship, and a moon goddess, and of course the king of Troy is referenced right here. And like I say, it's situated so close to Mount Ida, which allegedly Zeus stood on Mount Ida and witnessed the Trojan War. Of course, I make reference and quotes in that video that's probably been released just before this one. I'm just doing the editing for it. I just took a break and started reading, and you know what it's like. And yes, Zeus was allegedly responsible for heavy rains and all this kind of stuff that went tied into the geography and the climate and things like that. But yeah, I will leave it there. So that's a small little update on that video. I did say in that video I was going to try and do an update, and you know, synchronicity, it's once you start doing this kind of stuff, you're surprised how much stuff starts coming out because you're paying attention and looking for it. But I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Hope you have a lovely day. Peace.